Let's get it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the March Champion Call. So let's get into it. As always, this is a Microsoft digital event, so our digital code of conduct applies. Click on the link if you want to read through it, but basically be kind, be nice to everyone, have a little patience, and don't be a jerk. Number one rule. This is our agenda for today. I'm going to go through the announcements, and we've got some top Microsoft 365 updates from Tiffany. And then our guest, Caitlin, will be here to talk about flexible sections. This was a big topic last month, so many questions. So we thought, let's bring in a subject matter expert to show you some deeper, look into it and then answer some of your questions. And then, of course, our open discussion forum, which I know is our favorite part. New call format. I mean, everybody here already knows this is a Teams webinar. So yes, we're back on Teams. If this is your first call with us, we used to be on a different platform. And before that, it was just Microsoft Teams meetings, but we're back on Teams. This gives us the interaction that y'all love, the reactions, which I love. You can ask questions directly in the chat, all that stuff. So recordings are still available on the Microsoft Learning Community Learning YouTube channel, as well as Driving Adoption Forum on the Microsoft Tech Community. As you might know, or if you don't know, now you know, that is our discussion forum for this champion community. The links are there. The join links are still the same. Those get updated every month, the new webinar links, so just keep on checking that out. All right. If you haven't heard, Microsoft 365 Community Conference is coming up May 6th through the 8th in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you haven't joined, you're thinking about, maybe I want to totally come out here. This is the biggest Microsoft sponsored, but not Microsoft event, right? Microsoft sponsored community conference where hundreds of subject matter experts, Microsoft folks, and either your peers are going to be here to teach, to learn, to network, all that good stuff. So make sure you get your tickets, that link right there. You can click that to register. And if you need a little bit more enticement, here are our featured speakers. Jeff Teeper, who is the president of CAP, Collaborative Apps and Platform. That's my president. Vasu Jared Spataro and Nicole, and of course, Caruana Gatimo, as you all know. She owns this community and runs it behind the scenes. And then Adam Harmitz, who's our VP. Definitely come and check us out. Come hang with us. All right, couple more announcements here. If you haven't seen the Modern Work Customer Hub on adoptionmicrosoft.com, check it out. We've expanded to so many new series. So this started with three courses. It was a Copilot 101, it was a Copilot adoption, and then Copilot extensibility. And this started, I want to say last year sometime. So the content was, very new and it was evolving fast. It has grown so much. We have so many more Copilot sessions, but Teams has also joined. So Teams Phone, Teams Premium as well. I think there's Teams Room stuff coming up, but I have to double check my backlog. So all that stuff, and as well as Viva Glint, I believe. It also has, Viva has sessions, masterclass sessions there too. So we're constantly adding and expanding this space and bringing more stuff in. So if there's a subject that you want to see us covered in this in these webinars, drop a note in the chat, and I will get that back to our teams. Here's my favorite topic, because you might know, I run all of adoptionmicrosoft.com. I'm the content manager and content curator, and I work with teams all across our ecosystem to get content up on here. So a couple of new things since our last time we chatted. We have a new Security Copilot video hub. So they have done a series of videos, and they're going to do it through the rest of this fiscal year, through the summer. Deep dives, feature spotlights, more stuff for you to get comfortable and learn more about Security Copilot. Definitely check those out. The Modern Employee Communications microsite just launched. So this spans a bunch of Viva suites, but it's really talking about how modern communications works in an organization today, and how it can increase your collaboration, increase employee satisfaction, that kind of stuff. So go and check that out. New resources out there, and of course, it's always getting updated. We have some new Copilot resources. Oh my God, how many times can I say Copilot, right? But we have new analytics ebook. This is advanced analytics. So this is, if you've already got the basics down and you're looking to dive even deeper, that's the deck you want to take a look at. There's also a discussion guide for risks and compliance. And I know this one is a little, this is tricky. It's a tough discussion to have, but hopefully this guide helps you in tackling that. And of course, as I mentioned, there are new sessions in Customer Hub, so definitely check all those out. Lastly, we have a Customer Zero story, a new one on SharePoint agents. I think in the last call, someone was asking about legal scenarios, and so this was one that I knew was already in the works, so we just published that. Check it out on SharePoint agents page. You can click the link directly on the slide. I think it's lower, maybe it could be at the bottom of the page, but scroll down and see, you'll see Customer Zero. It's a Microsoft. How does Microsoft Legal manage that issue there? As always, you can subscribe to our RSS feed or check out the release notes on that page. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Tiffany for our 365 updates. Tiffany, take it away.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Jesse. You are always the saver of the days, the superhero in our champions calls, or champion for helping and jumping in, and vice versa whenever we have these snafus. But thank you so much. I was able to get my PC back online and everything, so that's always nerve-wracking when this is definitely one of our bigger calls, and we care about you all, and so thank you. But yes, let's move on over to our top Men 365 updates, and then we can get on over to our exciting topic of the day with Caitlin. So first, within Microsoft Teams, now you're able to add agents or bots in Teams chat. So, just imagine, not having to constantly be note-taking on the side or opening up your OneNote. I still love my OneNote, but yes, opening up OneNote or a Loop and taking notes, you can have your bot in the room do that for you. You can now access and add an agent or bot in your one-on-one group chat and ask that bot, hey, what did Carol want to say just now? And, I don't know about this topic. I was actually able to do so when I was using Teams. Actually, it was a spontaneous idea, but it worked well. I was using Teams to record one of her keynotes for one of her sessions that she was giving in a summit a week and a half ago, and I was able to add an agent. And rather than me digging through saying, hey, what did she say about this Copilot Success Kit, and what was she saying it's gonna do what exactly? I was able to go back and ask the agent that rather than me digging it through or otherwise. So again, kind of helpful in these kind of situations. And again, if you can save time not doing note taking, that would be great as well. If you wanted to learn more about the update, you can also click on our link right here. It is PowerPoint Live, so all our links are live. Alrighty, next, for our Teams Premium users, now Intelligent Recap is available for town hall and webinar event instances. So in webinars like this, we're able to use Teams Intelligent Meeting Recap. So again, if you've already used Intelligent Recap, it's basically the same as your Teams meetings, but now you're going to be able to use it for your town hall, webinar event, instances, and so on. So make sure you check that out. Next, GCC availability for and meeting recap options for Copilot and Teams. I know many of y'all have always asked us, when is X coming to GCC? And, what's going on in public sector? And a lot of times it's about a year after GA availability for most features. It could be more, could be less, but that's typically what I've seen, just, Tiffany's point of view of when features come. So yes, wanted to mention here that Copilot Teams meetings available for GCC members already, and you can click on this link to learn more. But last but not least, since you all are asking on when these sort of features are coming to GCC and what's going on public sector, I do want to make sure we give a call out to these new Microsoft public sector blogs. If you don't have an MTC, a Microsoft Tech Community account already, you should. Just make sure you go to techcommunity.microsoft.com and sign up for an account. Super duper fast process, maybe less than a minute to get an account there. You can subscribe to these public sector blogs, newsletters, get updated whenever they release a new one, and they actually go across Teams, Copilot, and 365 basically on what the features coming to or what the roadmap is for the public sector features. So again, wanted to call that out. Alrighty, next we're going to move on to our special guest today, Caitlin. She is the product manager for flexible sections in SharePoint. So Caitlin, take it away.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Helms. If we haven't had the chance to meet, I'm a product manager on the SharePoint Sites and Pages team. And today I'm very excited to talk about flexible sections. This feature is near and dear to my heart. And so I'm really excited to give a demo and talk a little bit about it and then answer questions from you all. So before I jump over to the demo, I just want to highlight exactly what a flexible section is, and then I can get on into the demo. So flexible sections are a new section type. When you're on a SharePoint page, SharePoint news poster, even in Amplify, you can add this new section type called a flexible section. And within this section, you have full capability to place web parts wherever you want in the section. We've enabled a new grid-like structure as opposed to the current column structure that exists within sections. So you can actually move web parts anywhere you want on the grid. You can even have a three-dimensional look by placing and overlapping web parts on top of each other. You can also group web parts, multi-select web parts, and move them and resize the section manually. So here on the slide, you'll see a few of the sections we've been able to build with these flexible sections. But now I'm going to jump over to the demo so I can give an example of how to utilize these flexible sections. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so here is a page that I've started working on. And first I'm going to show you how to add a flexible section. So if you click the plus button on the section border, you'll notice that there is a new flexible section type. Once you add this section to your page, one of the first things you'll notice is that there's no plus button to add web parts. There's no web part toolbox that's actually on the canvas. So what you want to do is you want to utilize the content pane toolbox over on the right-hand side of the canvas to add all of the content that you want to your page, or to your flexible section at least. So you can add web parts, you can add stock images, either by clicking them and they get added to the canvas or by dragging and dropping them. So you'll notice if I click on a stock image that I see here of this mountain and I go to drag and drop it, you'll notice that it can get added to the flexible section by using drag and drop. So another thing that you'll notice within these flexible sections is that there is a little handle on the bottom right of this section. And so what this actually is, it is a resize handle for the section. So when you click it, you can drag the section and you'll be able to actually manually resize the section to whatever size you want. So that is how you add web parts to a flexible section. Really utilize the content pane toolbox, click them in the content pane and they'll add to the section, or you can drag and drop. I highly recommend using drag and drop. So now let me hop over to this flexible section that I've already started and let me make a few more adjustments to show y'all how to do it. So here you'll notice I have some images, I have some text web parts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this image web part over. And what you'll notice is that you'll notice that there is a grid. And so this is the grid where I can place any of the web parts onto this grid. And you'll notice that the top left corner of the web part actually snaps to the nearest grid line. You'll also notice you might be seeing some pink kind of grid lines. And so these grid lines, what they do is they are alignment cues. So they help you align web parts either against a border of another web part or to the center of another web part. And there's actually alignment cues with the section as well to help you align web parts to the center of a section, either vertically or horizontally. So those are some really cool kind of functionality that we have there. Next, after I place this web part, let me go ahead and resize it. So you'll notice that the image web part has resize handles on the corners of the web part itself. So you can click the resize handle and resize the web part to any width and height that you want. So after I've gone ahead and resized this, I'm then going to go ahead and resize my text title, make it a little bigger, make it pop a little more. So here on the text web part, you'll notice that the resize handles are on the left and right sides of this web part. So let me go ahead and resize this web part and let me make the text a little bigger so that it stands out more as a title. And then I'll go ahead and make it a little more bigger. So what you're noticing here is that these two web parts are actually overlapping. So the text web part is on top of the image web part. If you want to change how web parts are overlapped or overlaid, we've added a new button in the web part toolbar called Arrange Items. So you'll notice this Arrange Items button in the toolbar. You can click it, and then you can arrange the items similar to how you do in PowerPoint. Bring them to the front, send them to the back. So let me go ahead and bring this web part to the front, and you'll notice that the image is now on top of the text. So that's how you utilize the Arrange Items functionality. Let me go ahead and send that backwards so it looks a little better. Another thing that I want to touch on is multi-selecting web parts. So if you have a couple web parts that you want to move at the same time, what you can do is you can click one of the web parts, then you want to hold down Control or Command on your keyboard, depending on what kind of device you have. So let me hold down Control, then I'm going to click another web part. And what you'll notice is that I've entered into a multi-selected state. So both of these images are selected and they have a shared toolbar. You'll notice that there's a border around these two web parts, but then I can also see that there's a blue border around the individual web parts, so I can kind of see which web parts are within this. Within the shared toolbar, I have a couple of different options for what I can do to these two web parts while they're in this multi-selected mode. I can move them, I can arrange the items together and group them, which I'll talk about in a minute. I can duplicate them or delete them. So let me go ahead and show you how to move them. When I click the move handle, you'll notice that both of these web parts are moving together, so I can adjust where they are on the screen. So if you have a couple of web parts that are related, let's say you have an image and a text and they're related, you always want them to be together. One of the things that I recommend using is the grouping functionality. So let me go ahead and group these two web parts, these two images. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the Arrange Items drop down that I used earlier, but there's a group button at the bottom. So when I click group, what's going to happen is those web parts are kind of going to stay together. So when I go and make edits to other parts of the canvas, let me go ahead and adjust this text over here. What's going to happen is these web parts are going to remember that they're supposed to be together. They're in a group. And so whenever I go to click on one of these web parts, you'll notice that the group first gets selected. So what the group first gets selected if you click on a web part that is a part of a group. But let's say I have this image in this group and I still want to make some edits just to the individual image. I can click on this image again, and now you'll notice that the image is selected instead of the group. So even when something is part of a group, you can still make individual adjustments and edits to a web part that is a part of the group. You can even move web parts that are in a group, and you'll notice that the group does update and the group remains consistent across your entire editing experience. Now, if you have a group and you don't really want that group to be a thing anymore, you want to ungroup the items, you can simply click the group Arrange Items button in the group toolbar and then click the ungroup button. So that is how the grouping and ungrouping works. Let's see what else I want to touch on. I will say, as part of this release of flexible sections, we've reimagined section templates. So if you utilize the content pane toolbox on the right, which you can access by clicking this toolbox button on the right-hand side of the canvas, you'll notice at the bottom that we have revamped section templates. Right now, there's about 12 of them, but I think we're going to release about 20 of them in the near future. And most of these are powered by flexible sections. So let me show you what these look like. You'll notice that these section templates are very scenario driven. They have a lot of kind of information that can help users kind of figure out how they might want to create their own sections. And so if you want to add one of these section templates to your page, you can either click it and it'll get added below the section that you were previously editing, or you can drag and drop it, similar to how I dragged the image before into the flexible section. So let me show you one of these. Let's see which one. 12 steps of success. You'll notice that when I click it, it got added below the section I was previously working on. And now, once this section gets added to my canvas, I can go and make any adjustments to the section template that I want. I can add the web parts however I might want. I can move the web parts around. And so yeah, that's how that works. I'll go ahead and call out another kind of feature that we're currently working on, and it's not available for me to show yet. It's called preview mode. So another thing we're working on as part of these flexible sections is preview mode, so that you'll have the ability to easily kind of figure out how this section and how these pages look on different device types, on desktop, on mobile, and on email. So that we're currently working on. There'll be a preview button in the command bar at the top of your canvas, but not something that I can show right now. So I'll show you some more flexible sections that exist within this page. You'll see this one is a new editorial card web part and a text web part. This one has some text and a button on it. This flexible section has the new hero web part with the new carousel layout and the stream web part. And then this one I actually kind of got inspired by the section templates and adjusted it accordingly. Now, the last thing that I will call out is that there is a bit of a difference in how web parts can be resized. So some web parts can be resized to any widths that you want, but they do have some minimum widths. So for example, the image web part I think has a minimum width of 2 grid columns. But other web parts, they only have 4 width options. So text and image, you can resize them to any width that you want, but let me go ahead and show you what it looks like when you add a web part that only has 4 width options. So I'm going to go ahead and add a quick links button, a quick links web part at the bottom of the section. And when you go to resize it, you'll notice that there are drop hints or kind of alignment hints that let you know where this web part can be resized. It's a little hard to see them on this purple background, so my apologies for that. But you'll notice that this only has 4 kind of sizing options. And these sizing options match to the existing sizes in column-based sections. So they can be similar widths to 1/3 column, half column, full width column, or 2/3 column. So there are 4 widths for some of these web parts. Most web parts do have fully dynamic resizing, meaning they can be any widths, but some web parts have only 4 widths right now. So that is one thing that you might want to kind of keep an eye out for as you're choosing which web parts to use, as you're creating your flexible sections. Just know that some web parts do have a limitation right now in terms of how much they can be resized. And then I'll show you again something that you might have seen when I added the quick links web part. When you resize sections, you can't resize them kind of above the web part. So the web part is essentially kind of blocking the section from going up or being resized any smaller. But if you wanted to go ahead and add a web part towards the bottom of your section, you'll notice that the section will actually automatically grow to account for the space. So that's something that's very useful when you're using drag and drop from the content pane toolbox into the section. That is that the section will automatically grow. And you can use the moving web parts across different sections. That works great too. So if you have a flexible section and you want to move a web part from one to the other, or even a normal section, if you have a normal section and you want to move your normal section web parts to the flexible section, you can do that. So I think that's it for the demo. I don't know, Jesse or Tiffany, if y'all saw any questions in the chat that I should go ahead and answer while I'm demoing.
Oh, there are a lot of questions. It's awesome. Okay, so first of all, thank you for this demo. Let's take a few. Yeah, we've got time. If you want to go ahead and stop sharing, let's pull up some questions from the chat. I know I'm not enabling mics just yet for y'all. That's the open section later, but I'm going to scroll up. One of the big questions I saw is, of course, has this started rolling out? And I know the answer, but I'd love for you to say it for the recording. And do you know when this is coming to GCC, GCC High, and higher?
Yes. So this flexible sections are currently released to 100% of targeted release environments. So if you have a tenant that is in a targeted release environment, you should be able to access these flexible sections right now. We are continuing the rollout process through the end of April or beginning of May. So within the next month or so, you should start to see flexible sections rolling out, regardless of what environment you're in. In terms of GCC, our goal is to always get the features out to GCC, GCC High as soon as possible. But as Tiffany mentioned, there often is a delay. So I predict, a delay of about a year, as Tiffany mentioned. But we are, actively working on that and hope that those can be released there soon as well.
Awesome. I know hold on. I used Copilot to pull all the questions from the chat into a table for me. So, that's super helpful, by the way. If you haven't started doing that for any of your webinars and stuff, game changer. All right. One of the other questions that got asked a lot is flexible section accessible? So I'd love to bring up the topic of accessibility. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are following let me first talk about from an editing point of view, from an authoring point of view. We are following practices that PowerPoint has in terms of making sure that the actual process of authoring these sections is accessible. So we have enabled keyboard navigation and screen reader for these sections. So anyone should be able to author these sections. Now, from a viewer or from a kind of viewing point of view, these sections are still accessible. So there should be no issues in terms of accessibility. We've really made sure that these are accessible. So yes, that is top of mind for us.
Fantastic. Accessibility is always top of mind for me. And a lot of people know the first question I ask when I get a content to publish is, did you run an accessibility check? They're like, what? Or like, yes, we know what you want. We did it. I'm like, great. If I could just train one person a day to do that, I'd be golden. Okay, another question. I saw a pop-up question of what GCC is, and I actually don't remember what it stands for because I know it's an acronym, but it's a government cloud. So we call them sovereign clouds, which sounds weird to me, but there's enterprise, of course, right? So that's corporate, right? There are more restrictions as you go higher in the clouds, we call it. GCC is your top your first tier of government environments, and then GCC High is an even more restricted one, and then there's DoD, Air Gap, so on and so forth. So for those that don't know, thank you, Government Community Cloud. Man, I learn something new every day. I just walk around like I know what I'm talking about. There's another question about, are there any web parts that are not compatible with flexible sections?
That's a great question. So all web parts, first party, third party web parts, all web parts, when this gets released, can be utilized in flexible sections. The only difference, as I mentioned, is the actual resizing portion of it. So some first-party web parts have fully dynamic resizing. They can be resized to any width. Some first-party web parts do have that limitation right now of only 4 widths. Third-party web parts, by default, will have that same kind of limitation where they can only be resized to the existing 4 widths. But third-party developers can go in and make adjustments. We've provided documentation so that developers can go in and make adjustments so that those third-party web parts can also be resized fully to any width.
Awesome. That's great. I know it's rolling out, it's in targeted release, and so it's coming to general availability, corporate enterprise general availability very soon. So that leads me to the next question. A lot of folks are asking, does it have to be enabled by their IT admins, or does it come, fully enabled automatically?
Yep. So it's going to come fully enabled automatically. As soon as this hits your tenant, you'll be able to see it. There's no way for the admins to turn it off right now. So you should be able to use it as soon as it's available to you.
Great. There's another question. I'll come back to the accessibility real quick. This question about alt text options. What options are there available for like maybe a carousel?
Yeah, so that is very web part dependent. So you'll notice if you click on an image web part and you go to the properties pane for image web part, there's actually an alt text available in the properties pane for the web part. So that's web part specific. Make sure you go to the properties pane for that web part, and then you can alter the alt text there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin. We're going to pause it right there. But Caitlin, there's a bunch of more questions in the chat if you could take a look. I am going to bring our deck back up because we've got a few more slides to go through. So one sec here. Tiffany, are you there? Do you want to go ahead and finish us out here? Hold on, let me go back. There we go.
I love the mini Q&A before we get into the actual Q&A. And someone was asking if we're going to go through the Q&A questions. Yes, we will be. I think we will go through hand raises first, then these Q&As, and then we will go through anything in chat. But yes, love y'all using Q&A. I love that. Okay. So yes, upcoming community events. There is Boston Code March 29th in Burlington, Massachusetts. And then we have a slew of different events happening in Las Vegas, Nevada, including, I think, Fabric Community Conference is returning for a second or third year now. Someone tell me if they know. But yes, Fabric Community Conference is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada, as well as the Boston Leadership Summit for Health Tech, also in Burlington, Massachusetts. Of course, the Microsoft 365 Community Conference, where you'll see myself, Jesse, Caruana, Adam Harmons, Jeff, and tons of other Microsoft leaders. Hint, hint, there may or may not be a champions meetup if you're going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada for the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. We actually did that last year when we had this conference in Florida, and it was great. And now, once again, official confirmation, we're also hopefully going to be holding a champions meetup. So please do visit us there. Come see Caruana, myself, Jesse, and the real life and flesh, like the humans we are, and not bubbleheads behind your screen. But yes, hope to see you there. And then European Power Platform Conference. Sorry, let's go back. In Vienna, Austria. And then, of course, we have TechCon 365 in Seattle. And this is a nicer time in Seattle now, so hopefully we can see you in Seattle as well. Alrighty, so open discussion. If you're viewing on demand afterwards and not with this live, then you can make sure you check out that Microsoft Tech Community Driving Adoption event page for this so you can engage with us. And then, of course, we want to remind y'all of the next call on April 22nd. We have actually two demos, so I've combined them because they're two kind of shorter demos, but really great content. One is all the accessibility updates in Teams with a familiar face if you were with us 2 months ago for Diana's Shoes section in Teams. And then, of course, we have a new cool tool called the Microsoft 365 Copilot Business Case Builder that I wanted to showcase. That's super cool as well. So yeah, that'll be the next call. So before I transfer over to Q&A, want to make sure you share your feedback for all calls. If you want to see a certain topic, you wanted to let us know how these calls are going, or any sort of feedback, good, bad, ugly, feel free to let us know at that link right here. Join the Driving Adoption community. I saw someone earlier say, hey, if we wanted to organize an event or a meetup or something, feel free to use the Driving Adoption community. That is your community to talk to each other, to ask a certain question about a product, for example, ask us a question. If you wanted to, you can also tag us there, and of course you can talk about events, etc. there. And of course, invite your colleagues to become a champion. So again, earlier people were asking, how can we get the slide deck? How can we can view the recording actually on the Microsoft Community Learning channel, but we also have a link to the recording if you wanted to just go from there. But how you can do that is you would be able to get in our monthly newsletter, a dedicated section to our private resources just specific for this group. So make sure you check out your newsletter for that. Alrighty, well, without further ado, we're gonna hop on over to Q&A. So if Jesse, you haven't yet, enable mics so people can just...
Give me a sec.
Sure. So once you're able to, please raise your hand, and then we will call them in order for Caitlin to answer about flexible sections.
Let's go with the group. Let's go with Q&A first, because those questions came in first.
Okay,
Well, I'm
sure.
still trying to enable this because I've lost my view.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Tiffany.
Teams is giving me snafus this morning too. But yes. So let's go in order. Okay. Will flexible sections be available to use when creating SharePoint content in Viva Amplify?
Yes, flexible sections will be available within Amplify as well. So these should show up at the same time as when we release them within SharePoint sites and pages.
Awesome. And then when is the release date for flexible sections? Would it work to create a flow chart? Have they fixed all the issues in test users?
Yes, so right now we are in targeted release. We are planning on releasing to GA, general availability, around the end of April, beginning of May. So that's the timeline for that. And if you have been testing it in targeted release, you might have seen some issues and some bugs. And that's the reason that we have a slower rollout process sometimes with these big features, is because we do find bugs, unfortunately. So hopefully these bugs will soon be fixed for you. If you're still seeing bugs, feel free to reach out to me, send me a ping on LinkedIn. Let me know, because we are actively investigating any issues that customers raise, and hopefully in the near future, you will not have any more issues.
Awesome. Next question. And then after I take one more from Q&A, I'm going to hop on over to the hand raises and then kind of go back and forth because I do want to make sure people are live, get answered. Okay, so inflexible sections can text wrap around images.
So you can make text wrapped around images if you use multiple text web parts and an image web part. We do not have this functionality added into the actual kind of text web part right now. So you can technically do it. It might be a little complex to actually make it work, but you technically could if you wanted to.
So, alrighty. So I know Pastor Garcia has his or her hand up if you wanted to come off mute and ask your question.
Yeah, my question was related with the cost of the license of Microsoft Teams Premium, because the intelligent meeting recap is is a great feature, but we would like to use on a very large organization, which could be really, really costly for that.
Yeah, so this is regarding Teams Premium. You'd have to talk to, especially if you're a large organization, you should have a customer success account manager, also called CSAM, within the Microsoft sales team. And if you don't, then you should at least have an account executive. So essentially, you would tell your, your IT team, hey, who's my Microsoft rep? And that's how you could acquire Teams Premium. And typically for organizations, we do offer, like different pricing. So definitely contact your organization's, admin to find out who your, representative, and let them know of, the need for Teams Premium, especially for intelligent recap. And yes, I agree, it's very useful. Alrighty, and then next we have Alana Kelsey.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for the walkthrough. I find the interactive demos are so impactful and just so inspiring seeing what's coming, especially the snapping to grid lines. A quick comment from the community in Canada. I wanted to share Clippy, who I got online, and this is for Jesse. Shout out to you, because I drive adoption here at Scotiabank in Canada. And one of the things I do as part of the Teams Ambassador Network, we've got 2,500 people on our invite. So I bought a Clippy to auction off at our next Teams Ambassador call. So really driving that engagement, making it fun, gamifying it. And I just thought, as somebody dropped the Clippy GIF into the chat, and having these to support that sort of making tech fun again, bringing us back to the future. And I do shout out the team that put the modern Clippy GIF in the deck about a year or so ago. That was so inspiring. So thank you. Keep on doing what you're doing. And one day I will make it to Vegas, because I think what you do is fantastic. Thank you all, Tiffany, Jesse, Caruana. Really appreciate the support and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alana. Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Alana. She was part of our, champion spotlight I think about a year and a half ago. It's been such I feel like it was just like a couple months ago, but yes, Alana does such a great job. And I remember she takes her slides and makes her own and takes it to that ambassador network. And Jesse, shout out to Clippy. Maybe you should bring some backgrounds for Clippy, because we all love Clippy.
Yeah, let's go off a quick tangent real quick, because I don't know if many people know, but Tiffany and I used to be on a team. We used to be on the Teams team, and our smaller team in there, the customer and quality and customer obsession teams, or the QCO team. We loved Clippy, and I want to say we were instrumental in bringing Clippy back into Teams as a new sticker. Our skip manager at the time, our director, was a huge Clippy fan. In fact, for her retirement party, I actually got the Clippy costume and I brought Clippy to the party. So anyway, yeah, it was so much fun. So I love seeing that. A little fun fact about us: we helped bring back Clippy and resurrected it. Well, no, that's a little dark. We brought him back out from retirement. Let's put it that way.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. And then thank you, Alana, so much for your question and for coming back and seeing us again. We like seeing you. And yes, one day if you can make it to the Microsoft 365 conference, we should typically do one on West Coast, one on East Coast. So whichever is easier from you from Canada, I'm not sure. But yes, hope to see you in person one day. Definitely. Okay. Next, we have Nicola on the line.
Hello, ladies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was great. I have a question regarding Copilot and the background LLM behind it. So I read a lot of, possible leak that is based on OpenAI, maybe in a way, maybe yes. But my question is it possible to define which kind of model we are using for? For example, OpenAI, you can use deep research. So it's not only based on the insight of being commercially an organization protected data, which is the work version, but for example, for the web version, if I want to go deeper inside a research or an analysis, why cannot I go deeper? Because the response that I get is very general, so sometimes I had to dig much more, while if I use Gemini or OpenAI, it goes a lot deeper for the deep research.
I was just about to respond to your question, Ashley, and then you came on. I'm like, oh, I won't respond. We don't have any insight to that right now. Ashley, I'm hoping to, because I've heard that question a couple of times from other people, and I need to get some guidance. Tiffany and I, we need to get some guidance on, what information do we have? What can we share? Because, there's stuff that we can and cannot say, depending on NDA status. So that's a really good question. Yeah, we don't have an answer for that right now. Don't have any insight, but like I said, I've heard this question a couple times, and Tiffany, let's connect offline and see if we can find someone to come on and kind of talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
or we'll find an answer and get it back to you.
If I can add just one thing, because in our organization, when we need to do like a research on something, then we don't want to. We have everything protected with OneDrive, and SharePoint. So we don't want to divert and send something offsite. I know that Gemini does the same if you go to the pro version. I have it, but I want to maintain the organizational perspective under one umbrella, which is obviously Microsoft 365 and Copilot,
Right. So, yeah, exactly. There's definitely privacy concerns with that, right?
Yeah.
If you go outside of the bubble. So yeah, again, we don't have an answer on that, but we'll try and find something. We'll bring it back to the community, either maybe if we can get an expert to come and talk about it, or we'll try and send you something or post something in the driving adoption community.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Yes, Jesse, connect me with your, what is it? Your Madam Web of adoption.microsoft.com resources. So she is
my web of
AMC.
contacts.
Yeah, web of contact. So Jessie is Miss AMC. You saw her talking about adoption.microsoft.com updates, and through adoption.microsoft.com, she is in talks with tons of product teams, which is how we source a lot of these different speakers for y'all. So yes, we would need to tap into her web. Okay, next we will have Randy. If you can come off mute, ask your question.
I am off mute. So hello. Like Alana, I'll also say to Caitlin, thank you so much for your demonstration. It's very, very helpful. I actually asked my question in chat, so I'll just kind of re-summarize it. I'm starting to use the flexible sections, and I'm able to use them in the communication site pages, team, standard, and private channel pages. But I am running into a small issue with shared channels, and I'm wondering if maybe it's a bug. On the home page for shared channels, I'm able to add the flexible sections, but I'm not seeing the toolkit over on the right side, so I'm not able to drag and drop web parts. That said, when I'm in the shared channels and just create a site page, then I'm able to add the flexible sections, and I'm seeing the toolkit. So it seems to be a little bit of an issue with shared channel home pages. comments on that? Thoughts?
Thanks for bringing that to my awareness. I had not heard of that before, so that's something that I'll go back with the team and investigate. But yes, that's definitely an issue if you are seeing the flexible section but not seeing the content pane on the right-hand side, because that's how we're kind of telling people to go add web parts to the flexible sections. In the meantime, before we get that fixed out, you could add web parts in old column-based sections and then drag them into the flexible sections. That is a little bit of a workaround, but definitely understand the frustration there. So I will go back with the team and get that investigated for sure.
And perfect, and thank you for that. I did see that in your demo, and I kind of took a note saying, that's how I can use them. So, but thank you for reiterating it. We'll go ahead and try that in the meantime. So thank you again.
Thanks.
Can we pop to the Q&A real quick, Tiffany? A couple of questions out
For
there.
sure.
Before we come back to hands. So more questions for you, Caitlin. Any best practices that you can recommend for using flexible sections for mobile devices?
Yes. So when we release the preview, I'll do another kind of YouTube video demo about preview and talk a little bit more about mobile reflow. But what happens right now with flexible sections? Unfortunately, right now, when you have a flexible section, when it gets on a mobile device, all of the flexibility is lost and it gets transformed into a one column section. So you can, with the new preview that we're going to release within the next 2 months, I would say, you will be able to preview how the mobile experience will look. And if you go to the properties pane for the flexible section, you actually have a little bit of control with how the web parts reflow into that one column view. So there's 2 options that you'll see on the properties pane for flexible sections. You'll see one that says reflow from top to bottom, and you'll see another that says reflow from left to right. So what this does is it changes the actual reflow order of web parts within that flexible section when it is reflowing from the flexible section on desktop to a one column section on mobile device. And so with that kind of control, you can manipulate a little bit how those web parts will reflow by either telling us to prioritize the web parts from top to bottom first, or prioritize the web parts from left to right first. So that is kind of how you can control it a little bit. And I will say grouping web parts is your friend. If you have web parts that you want to be together, you want to be one on top of the other in the mobile reflow, make sure that you group them, because when you group web parts, they are going to remain together on a mobile device. Still, they'll be reflowed into a one column view, but they will be together. So 2 controls that you can have right now. You have the section properties pane control within flexible sections property pane, and you have grouping that is your friend. I will say this is top of mind for us in terms of future investments. After the initial release, we are thinking about how we can enable additional customization of what these flexible sections look like on mobile devices. So definitely top of mind for us, but that's what you have to work with right now.
Sounds good. Thank you. Another question. As Power Pages closely resemble SharePoint Online Pages, will flexible sections be added there? Also, do you have any insight to this?
I don't have any insight to that, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, that's a good question for the Power Apps team, Tiffany. We can take that back to them and see if they have any comments. Last one from the Q&A. Will the flexible sections format properly and be allowed on the send to email option?
Yes, that's a great question as well. So similar to how a flexible section looks on mobile devices, it will look similar when you send it as an email. So, and this is just for right now. For right now, it will reflow into a one column kind of view when you send it as an email, but you can still send it as an email. But like I mentioned, the team is actively working on addressing this so that this flexibility can be visible across all endpoints, mobile device, email. So we are investigating this. We are actively working on it, but unfortunately at the initial release, it does kind of reflow into the one column view, but you can still send it as an email.
Thank you. Let's go back to
Hands. Okay. We can go back to hands. Rosanna, I believe you're the next hand. Thanks for waiting.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation and for the monthly meeting that I always attend to. I have a question regarding SharePoint. So I am part of a very small group. We have a business subscription, but we're a non-profit, so we're actually kind of on a budget, and I have the duty to make things interesting for our members. And I was building actually a library, and I don't mean just the SharePoint library. I mean a library like a municipal library, like you have a library in town, like with the background and all, that would resemble a library for the huge amount of documents that we have for our nonprofit organization. And I wanted to make it interesting because, of course, you have to keep people interested. You don't just want to put there a bunch of folders and list of files and so on. And being a self-taught person and coming from on-premises SharePoint, I know how it works in the background, but I'm finding it hard to handle on a visual level. So is there any training or something that you might suggest to get a better grip on how to build an interesting and functional site? Because I saw the presentation back in January. I remember seeing Caitlin there presenting the flexible web parts, and I saw so many things. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. But then I went back in and I couldn't make one of them, not one of them. I couldn't make them work. So of course I'm missing something there, and I would like to fill the gap. If you have some suggestions for training or workshops, whatever helps me increase my knowledge. Is there anything that you might want to recommend? Because Microsoft Learner and Learning Paths is mostly technical and written. So like a workshop would be better, like, learn by doing is my thing.
Yeah.
Anything?
So right now we don't have any learning guidance out for flexible sections specifically. What I would recommend is utilizing the section templates. The flexible section templates, I think, are a great starting point, and we are actively working on additional section templates and additional page templates that will be a good starting point for authors. But right now we do not have any additional kind of training for how to utilize flexible sections.
Any possible future like workshop, like you do, training in a day, there's Power Pages in a day, there's all sorts of training in a day. Is there something like that could be imaginable for Microsoft to do in the future?
Let me jump in here because Caitlin's from the product group, and Tiffany and we're on our team does a lot of training. We manage a lot of this. So this is great feedback. I mean, Caitlin, our team, we can work with, of course, you and your team to figure out what kind of, maybe we do a customer hub session, maybe we do a webinar like that. But in the meantime, Caitlin, do you know if there's any support.microsoft.com articles out there for flexible sections? Because that would be a great resource. Rosanna.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay, great.
Yes, so right now we do have a couple of documents out. I think it's just the document about how you add sections to a SharePoint page. It talks about flexible sections and the functionality that comes with those. So there is a little bit of documentation out right now on that. And then I will be, making some more documentation to release in terms of mobile reflow and the new preview mode that is coming out as well. So there's a little bit of documentation out.
Great. So if you, Rosanna, in the meantime, until we can get something, like an actual training session out to you, check out support.microsoft.com. And this is for everyone too. Support.microsoft.com is really your go-to for your everyday how-tos. And if there's a search bar at the top, just search flexible sections. I just did it. And there's several articles about this. So take a look there. And hopefully we can get some stuff. Oh, thank you, Ray, for that. We'll get something new out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tiffany, you want to close us out?
Yep. Last, 30 seconds or so. Again, thank you so much, Caitlin, for coming on. As I told you, flexible sections is very popular within our community, tons and tons of questions. But as you see, the feedback so far is very positive. So everyone give a round of applause or some hearts for Caitlin for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thanks
And
everyone
yes,
for having me.
thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. So Caitlin, Jesse, and myself will be back on for the PM session if you wanted to, come visit us again. But yes, thank you so much for coming on, Caitlin. And then just a preview for next month, we're going to have accessibility in Teams and the Copilot Business Case Builder. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on to our March call. I hope we all enjoyed it. Again, give us feedback for how this was, if you liked it, future topic ideas, etc., etc. All right. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Thank you so much, Jesse, for opening and being the mistress and the awesomeness that you are, Miss AMC. And then we will close out for today. Thank you so much, all, and we will see you next month.
Bye.